It's the Daily Dog.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Dog. Thanks for hanging out with me today as we conclude another week of Daily Doug episodes here on the channel with the Masterpiece Friday edition. And today, our Masterpiece Friday episode is going to take on a somber tone because we are going to be paying tribute to legendary guitarist Jeff Beck, who passed away sadly this week at the age of 78 after a short bout with bacterial meningitis. This happened 3 days ago, and since that time, I know over on the Daily Doug Patreon and our Discord, we have been sharing stories and some of our favorite selections and songs that Jeff played on, and just coping and grieving and reminiscing about his remarkable career. He burst on the scene in the 60s as a member of the Yardbirds, and he went on to have one of the most influential and successful careers of any guitarist that I can think of, a career spanning 60 years. Y'all, he founded and led his own bands, the Jeff Beck Group and Beck, Bogert, and a Piece. And he has, over the years, played with so many different musicians in so many different genres and styles that I really can't list them all. But I know he was influential in the birth of the heavy metal style. He played rock music, he played pop music, he played some jazz and jazz fusion. He even was very successful with movie soundtrack recordings. So he did it all, friends. And when I went to our community and started a conversation about what our favorite recordings from him are and just our thoughts, one of our folks said this. He says, "You've got an artist who has covered an immense amount of time in his career, right? And whose style evolved as well." And our friend says his studio work was wonderful, but live is where you really saw his amazing ability. And so today, for our Masterpiece Friday episode, I have selected 3 different live performances of Jeff's that we're going to listen to. So sit back and relax and grieve along with me as we listen to some wonderful music performed by Jeff Beck. First, I am going to go to a couple of performances from his live performance called Live at Ronnie Scott's. This was a live recording recorded in 2007 in London. And first up, we're going to go to his classic cover of People Get Ready. It was originally written by Curtis Mayfield and recorded in 1965 by The Impressions. And 20 years later, he and Rod Stewart released a really famous cover of this. That was 1985. And so in this version, we get guest vocals by Joss Stone. And it's one of my favorites. Versions of this song. So let's take a look. Here is People Get Ready with Jeff Beck and Friends in 2007. Off we go. Ronnie Scott's.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to Ronnie Scott's for those of you just arrived. Just before we get going, a couple of necessary but yet ever so boring announcements. Please, we do.
I love that they include the announcements in this. It makes you feel like you're going to a show.
Clothes on, turn your mobiles off because you're about to enjoy some of the world's greatest musicians. Please make them all feel very welcome and give a hand, please, to Jeff Beck.
Joss
Hey,
Stone,
Jeff.
ladies and gentlemen.
Joss Stone.
How about it?
Just a classic rock and roll with some gospel thrown in there, with just a basic 3-chord song, right? D, B minor, G, back to D.
You don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesel coming. You don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord.
it's a little bitty lick, you know, and it's just do, sol, right? It's just an arpeggio of an open one chord, but his touch on the strings just makes it sing like only he could make it sing. The touch that he had. I mean, when you watch his right hand, he's like just cradling the strings with his thumb. He's not using a pick. It's all in his fingers. The touch that he has on his instrument.
I pity those people. Yes, I pity those people now. See my people get ready. There's a train that's coming. You don't need no baggage, no. You just get on board. All you need is faith.
I mean, he could hold the whammy bar in his hand and in real time control the tension of the strings. He's controlling the intensity with the way that he's interfacing with making the strings sing. They go up a half step. He's joined on stage. This is Jason Rebello on keyboards. He's got Tal Wilkenfeld on bass. Absolutely fantastic bass player. And Vinny Colaiuta is on the drums. Of course, I love Rod Stewart too, but I love this version of it. All right. Yeah, we are. Got almost all the way down to that E flat by just bending the pitch. Just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Just don't raise a number.
Absolutely. So after this one, I want to go to another performance from this same DVD. And it's a classic tune of his that I've loved for a long time. 'Cause We've Ended as Lovers. And this is a song originally by Stevie Wonder. And it was originally included on an album called Stevie Wonder Presents Cyrita. And the person singing in the actual album was Cyrita Wright back in the mid-70s. And it was released a year before Jeff included it on one of his albums. And so fast forward into the 2000s, and they're performing it here at Ronnie Scott's. So here is Jeff and Friends again. Off we go. A lot of the folks on our Discord said that this may be one of their favorite bands or assembly of musicians that he ever brought in. So it's in C minor. It goes down by third to A flat, down by third again to F minor. And then a suspended chord, but it lands on C major. And then it re-racks and goes back to C minor. It's actually quite a similar chord progression to the one that we just heard. But the previous one's in a major key, and this one mainly is in a minor key. Except that it ends on that Picardy third, that major chord, the end of that phrase. He's going to give Tal a great opportunity to do some bass soloing here. Are this good? Yeah. Jeff's like, how cool is it to have somebody on stage that can riff with you like that? She's amazing. One of my favorite things to do is to go see musicians in small venues if you can. The music doesn't have to travel all this way, it just has to be right here with you. How good is this? It's way up on the neck. And he just makes it sing. I mean, just observe the touch and the delicateness. He doesn't have a real long nail on his thumb. He's just using the flesh of the back of his thumb, this thumb, and just caressing the strings as he makes them vibrate and sing. It's absolutely remarkable. Remarkable. We got one more, friends. I couldn't let this tribute episode go by without hearing a bit of Beck's Bolero. And the problem with going to a piece like this is which version, right? I mean, this was his first solo recording from 1966. And guess who he recorded it with? Jimmy Page, Keith Moon, John Paul Jones, and Nicky Hopkins. I mean, what a way to start, right? The performance that I have grabbed is from 2009, as he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So this is from that induction ceremony, and he's joined by some of the same players, but he's also joined by Jimmy Page. So let's take a look at this one. Here is Beck's Bolero from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2009. Off we go. Looks so natural and at ease on stage. And that guitar seems like just a natural extension of his hands. That catch as he starts a phrase, that little warble, that's to me as big of a Jeff Beck sound as anything. As the string starts to vibrate and enter a phrase, that warble, it's human-like with the way that our chords start to vibrate. Of course, this one is credited to Jimmy Page as a songwriter, but both he and Jeff collaborated on writing the song, and there's been tussles over the years as to who actually gets songwriting credit for it, but I think they're largely over it by the time we get to here.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big chunk of Led Zeppelin. Right here, Jimmy. Page.
All right. I mean, how cool is it that when you get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that Jimmy Page comes to play rhythm guitar in back of your solo? One of the main reasons I wanted to give you these three different clips is I think they showcase some of his range as a player. Down to C. They're just moving the key and going down to subtonic. Again. I mean, it is inspired by Ravel's Bolero, both in the underlying rhythms and in some of the harmonies. They definitely make it their own. It's great to see them on stage again after all that they had been through. Well, I could go on, y'all. It's just 3 songs. I really had trouble figuring out which 3 or if it was even 3 to do and which versions to do. But I hope that that resonated with you, especially if you're a Jeff Beck fan. What a loss, you know. Too many folks have been passing away. It seems like we've lost quite a few, but this one seems really hard hitting because he was still active, right? Even at 78, he was still doing his thing, and he got sidelined by this bacterial infection and just took him out. And it reminds me of my own mortality, which freaks me out a little bit. But it makes me just pause and be immensely thankful to Jeff for all of the years that he put in. When I was doing some research today, I mean, you look in, okay, do you want his work from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, you know, or current? And I'm like, well, all of it. Well, how long do you want to read and listen about that? So we could keep going all day, but I think that's going to do it for us. I'm gutted by his loss, as are many of the folks in our community, and I'm sure many of you. But I think it's cathartic to spend some time and like intentionally listening while thinking about him and all the work that he put in over the years, continuing to thrill us and perform for us and provide us with these great sounds that only he could make in the way that he made them. You know, when somebody, you know, like like Jimmy says, you know, he was a big influence for me. And like when Hendrix says that this guy helped influence his sound, you know, you got something special. And so rest in peace, Jeff. Thank you for all of the music, and we'll keep listening. We'll keep listening. So thanks to all of you for hanging out today. I know it's a bit of a somber tone and note, but when these things happen, it's cathartic and important for us to mark these important passings and to pay tribute to these great musicians. And Jeff is one of the greats. So thanks to Jeff and thanks to all of you. And we will see y'all next time on another edition of The Daily Doug.